Settra's Chariot of the Gods did get a mass buff in the 3.0 update. Unfortunately for Red Salamander, my build doesn't really have any good targets for Settra's Chariot to go after, since I've very much gone with the monstrous infantry, kind of Tzeentch-oriented Warriors of Chaos build that I've been trying out recently. We've got 3 Tzeentch spawn. One of them is, of course, the Regiment of Renown Weird spawn, led by Sarthrel the Everwatcher. A couple of armored Chaos Trolls ranked all the way up, with 1 rank 9 and 1 rank 8. And some Poison Warhounds out on the flanks for some auxiliary support. And yeah, Marauders in the front line. For Red Salamander's Tomb Kings here, he's coming in hot with Settra, got a couple of Ushabti Great Bows, lots of Chaff Infantry, 2 Screaming Skull Catapults, so definitely going for more of a missile defense type build. Settra and the Kemrian War Sphinx, a couple powerful single entities, and some Carrions deployed out on the flank here. And just as a quick sort of aside to Red Salamander, because I know he's going to watch this, and since he's a patron, you know, these patron practice sessions, it is certainly more serious than a casual FFA with friends. You guys might have seen where I took a similar build to this. Definitely not as sweaty or serious as a tournament game, since a lot of the time we're just kind of exploring matchups, practicing various aspects, or, you know, trying different sorts of things, just for fun sometimes, or for more serious kind of skill development, knowledge. Anyway. But yeah, his Carrions are kind of deployed out on the flank here, where in this type of a missile defense situation, it really should just be deployed here kind of throughout the army, ready to respond to threats as they develop, rather than trying to get aggressive and go after my units here, as they have done, which sort of leads them to getting a little bit eaten up by the Poison Warhound. Sarthrel himself can come over and kind of munch on them a little bit. But anyway, pressuring with the Hounds in the front line, at least trying to get those Ushabti Great Bows, but not really microing super well to get through the gaps. They're also eating some shots from the Screaming Skulls, which is definitely not great for their leadership. Poison Warhounds and Chaos Warhounds in general just have pretty poor leadership overall, but one great thing about the spawn of Tzeentch and the Chaos Armored Trolls here is both will take relatively little damage from the skeletons. The spawn of Tzeentch will definitely take more, but their barrier will at least absorb some of that initial impact, so just the high damage from both units can very much blend through skeletons and just mash their bones into a fine paste, which can then be applied to various monuments of Tzeentch. Yeah, I'm not sure he's into that sort of thing. That seems like more of a Khorne thing now that I stop and think about it, but to be honest, I'm sure Tzeentch appreciates the fact that you're putting it on his thing instead of Khorne's, because it's a nice change of pace, right? Anyway, I'm missing some important plays over here. I'll throw down a final transmutation on these Ushabti Great Bows, but I did a kind of a risky dive here, and Red Salamander's doing a great job of punishing me for that. Moves in with Settra. I think I actually dived Settra initially here, but the Ushabti Great Bows just focus firing, doing a huge amount of damage to Sarthrel, and I am forced to screen with the Marauder Horseman here to make sure Settra can't keep up with Sarthrel. Probably would have killed him if he would have been able to keep him glued on the ground there, which certainly I think Settra's Chariot has enough speed to do so. So kind of have to sacrifice my Marauder Horseman a little bit there, which is fine. We're able to maneuver the Poison Warhounds in to start to not burst down those Ushabti Great Bows, but at least occupy them for the time being. Sarthrel can kind of flap about in the distance there and recover some of his barrier in order to become more survivable once again. But in general, just kind of detaching some of the monstrous infantry from their overblobbing in the front line. We've blended through most of the skeletons on that initial line at this point, so we can start to punch through to the second level, try and get on these Ushabti Great Bows, and the spawns and the trolls have enough speed to at least threaten the Ushabti Great Bows heavily, kind of pressure them away here. So despite all this, though, we do have the Ushabti summon being pulled up here, trying to hold back those armored Chaos Trolls, but honestly, the Trolls just have much better stats at melee, not to mention their regeneration, so they should be able to prevail in that engagement, but we'll see. Sarthrel also going to come personally, try to shut down these Ushabti Great Bows along with the Hounds here. That one spawn just coming in. Oh man, I kind of missed. That was a hilarious combo, just punching the poor Ushabti in the face. The spawn's animations are just so ridiculous. There's something about it that I really love, to be honest. But anyway, Yeah, these Ushabti Great Bows, the one that just faced the Hounds is able to fight them off, but both are sent into crumbling. You can see how much that's affected balance of power. This Cambrian War Sphinx also has just kind of been bogged down in the front line by the Weird Spawn pretty much the entire time. They've got a really nice surround, and of course, being unbreakable, they'll continue fighting. They've got that Sunder armor, bring it down to just 65 armor. Their 160 weapon strength will be hitting fairly hard, definitely grinding it down over time. And things had seemed pretty close initially. I think had Red Salamander been able to fully execute the snipe on Sarthrel, I might have started to have leadership issues potentially, especially on the trolls perhaps, but to be honest, the trolls haven't really taken much damage overall, and I'm not sure even if Sarthrel were to have died that they would have taken enough leadership damage to have been routed off here. Potentially. Maybe terrified. But Sarthrel gonna go for a dive once more just to kind of pin Settra in here. Get the Armored Chaos Trolls in as support. So even if Sarthrel falls at this point, I'm pretty confident in my ability to clean up the rest of Red Salamander's build here. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of conundrum. I think definitely against Warriors of Chaos, you're going to want some Sepulchral Stalkers for defense. And while I am a big fan of Settra's Chariot in a number of matchups, I think given the sort of monstrous infantry and cavalry meta that's seeming to develop, I definitely would say more of an anti-large focus. I mean, Settra on his own War Sphinx is not necessarily anti-large focus, but certainly is a pretty powerful single entity in his own right. Of course, it's hard to go wrong with Arcan, but Doom Kings do suffer a little bit in that they don't have a great Lore of Magic option right now for busting blobs of monstrous infantry and cavalry, right? They don't have Lore of Metal. They don't have any, you know, AoE. We'll have to actually check. I don't think they have an AoE direct damage on their custom spell lore. I believe it's... yeah, we'll double check that real quick after the fact. But yeah, monstrous infantry in general, here we're able to just kind of tank out much damage. There wasn't a lot of direct anti-large here from Red Salamander. Kind of was relying quite a bit on the Screaming Skulls, which didn't really pay out much. You know, spawns are unbreakable, obviously. They're not going to take much leadership damage, but yeah, then actually the War Sphinx basically didn't do much at all. So yeah, we'll kind of think about this a little bit, but definitely the Sepulchral Stalkers would be a good anti-large high mass unit that can actually hold back the trolls and the spawns and just keep them from running roughshod all over your lines. I might even put them up front to a degree. They're not at too much of a threat of getting hit by mass missiles, obviously, from Warriors of Chaos. It's fairly unlikely. I mean, I guess they could go with an absolute spam of Marauder Horsemen, but I don't know how good that actually is here. But let's just quickly talk a little bit about builds. For Tomb Kings in this matchup, Sepulchral Stalkers definitely seem like a very solid option, so I might actually start with just 4 of them and kind of build from there. Go ahead and make sure unit caps are active here. So they're reasonably expensive, so something like this you're going to kind of have to build around to a degree. Coming back to magic, I mean, yeah, it's, what's the one I was thinking of? This one is, yeah, strong versus 25 or above. So the one direct damage they do have in their custom lore is not, yeah, it's not great against low model count targets. And then, of course, you do have other lores available here, but light and shadows both lack that specific spell type as well. So you don't really have, in my opinion, the best spell options in the world. I mean, Spirit Leech is okay, but it's pretty inefficient for going after multi-model units. Especially something like Trolls that's going to be regenerating through the damage. Maybe if you can get it on the spawns or on the Lord, that would be good. Obviously, the summons are always going to be pretty strong and just continue to layer some chaff on after your chaff starts to evaporate. So something like this with just life leeching, I definitely take Libra Mortis. My will be done, maybe. I mean, it's an okay buff, but how much you pay for it, it's not amazing. But something like this, and then perhaps Tomb Guard with Halberds. I'm a little bit worried, though, that their light mass means they're just going to get steamrolled anyway, even by, you know, units that ostensibly you would think they might counter, like the Trolls, right? With support, I'm not sure how well they do, but yeah, might as well take a couple of them just for funsies here. Get some Skeleton Spearmen as well. Definitely a solid enough choice. Do like the pick of the Carrion for sure. Very good. So I'd probably take 4 of them. And then to kind of complete the auxiliaries here, it would be nice to have some form of terror. Single entity department generally feels pretty weak here, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm certainly not a Tomb King's expert by any means, but it certainly seems like Sepulchral Stalkers might be a good way to go. I haven't really tried Necropolis Knights since the knockdown change. I don't know if it would have benefited them that much, to be honest, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Maybe you go with the Ushab team melee counter rush here with more kind of support elements for constructs. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could attempt this, and I'm open to ideas, so certainly leave your thoughts in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.